There's a lot of big stories out there, and we don't fully understand them. I don't fully understand them. So we have to go to collective data to help me go through these stories from the perspective of large numbers and polling. I have Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen. Mark, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, great to be back. Big conversation we're going to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Good and bad. So my audience needs to buckle up. So on the one hand, there's all this talk about Democrats being extremely unpopular, Trump maintaining his popularity, getting a lot done. On the other hand, there is this worry that Democrats could actually take back Congress. What are your thoughts on this? What are Democrats doing that is so unpopular, and at the same time, how could they potentially beat the Republicans?
Okay, so much in here, and we're going to refer to a bunch of different numbers. And the problem is that it's indeterminate. That's the real problem. But that's a complete reversal from where we were just back in January, because back in January, it looked like, oh my God, things are going in the right direction. We had record right direction, wrong track polling in our 20-year history. That happened February, March, when all this stuff was coming out of Doge. Doge was very popular, the most popular thing, literally popular, more popular than anything we poll, Doge. We had a strong majority saying that Trump 2.0 was going to bring a golden age. We had really good Trump approval numbers. Everything looked like it was off to a really good start. And then unfortunately, things kind of derailed. Now, Trump's approval rating isn't super horrible right now. But what we just got back today, like literally today, is a Democrat +4 generic ballot. Now, history tells us that Republicans will lose the House and the Senate. That's just what happens after a president gets into power. But it's also super unfortunate because, as we've talked about before, we're kind of in existential election territory. The Democrats have proven they're willing to be lawless, and that would be very dangerous if they regain power. The MAGA agenda is very positive for the country. It's very favorable among voters, and it would be awfully jeopardized. The whole legislative momentum behind Trump's presidency would be gone. Literally, the Democrats would just get in and they would probably launch a fake Epstein investigation. They'd probably have all kinds of subpoenas and probably impeachments, and it'll be complete and utter mess. That is what's going to happen now with a Democrat +4 generic ballot. If things hold, that's probably political reality. So the problem is that if Trump is racking up wins and he does have a moderately positive approval rating, that's kind of not enough. And things like this, obviously the Epstein thing was a complete kind of unforced error complication that he'll probably be able to put in the rearview mirror. But Republicans can't afford to have these kind of things pile up. They just can't, because they passed a massive bill. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody knows what's in that thing. They didn't get approval rating bounce. In fact, the approval rating of Trump plunged. Now, I would also be very hesitant to listen to headlines that say that Democrat Party favorability is in the tank. Okay. That 19% number comes from Quinnipiac. That's literally garbage. Last time we polled Democrat favorability, it was lower than Republicans, but it was like 44, 45%. So I literally don't have any idea how they get that number. Quinnipiac pretty commonly gets headlines for having super low numbers like this that are just kind of absolutely retarded. Democrats are a danger, but nationally, from a leadership perspective, they're a bit of a laughing stock. Again, it's going to be a really crazy 2028 primary. You're going to have like Newsom debating AOC and Shapiro and Waltz. It's going to be a mess. Kamala Harris is actually going to have to fog a mirror in front of a national audience when she is the favorite 3x over the next closest competitor in the Democrat Party. But the Democrats are going to run moderates. They're going to run veterans. They're going to have ads that it's about how chaotic Trump administration is and vote for sanity and put the adults back in the room. And that's going to give Democrat voters, who are now the high propensity voters, enough ammo to come to the polls. And I've seen the enthusiasm. Republicans lost the enthusiasm too. So whatever they're doing, it's not enough. And they got to change something.
Okay. So Trump built all this momentum to get through the election, but it's probably not enough firepower to get through the midterms.
I would say that's the case. I think they really need something big to buck the historical trends. And again, this wasn't really. It was about Trump, but it wasn't, right. It was about a Biden and the uniparty kleptocracy, the overreach of government. Because Trump's policies are by and large more popular than Trump is. They're mostly kind of keyed towards fairness, like returning rule of law, rebalancing the economy, right? And overwhelmingly, voters said that what was important to them is to change the way that business is done in Washington, D.C. Listen, the way politicians talk is just totally different than America. America wanted the government shut down, and everybody in D.C. does not. It's just a complete paradox. Like, how do you square that? You just can't. Like, I've told it so many times. I've told them it's never going to get shut down. That would have been the best thing for Doge. They could have just taken a hatchet to it, right? So that you're never going to get the government shut down. And we actually polled on what would you prefer, business as usual or massive change in DC? Massive change wins by like 60 points. So Trump can come in and win, and he's going to probably keep most of his supporters, even the Democrat crossovers and the independents. But the Republicans just look like they're doing Republican stuff. They passed a big old fat Washington, D.C. bill. Sure, it had some Trump stuff in it. But also had 3,000 pages of other stuff, right? And they've got, 4 or 5 signed legislation items through. We keep hearing the things about, the parliamentarian. We can't get this thing. Republicans don't want to support Trump. And that's just not enough, because I think people voted for Republicans along with Trump on the ticket because they had no other choice. With what Biden did, weaponize the government, make it hard for people to launch new households. They can't afford to feed their family. They had to take experimental stuff, right? And Trump can come in. Trump can rebalance the economy, but that doesn't mean that you fix the government. You did not necessarily drain the swamp. I don't think that can be done without like massive arrests and major investigations. I just don't.
Okay. Hopefully we'll get some of that before. I keep saying the one thing that's missing is the accountability. People want that accountability. They want the major disruption. Let me stick with you on the Elon Musk thing. Scott Besant said Doge was wildly popular, but Elon Musk was not. Does that mean he wasn't popular in DC? Because I believe he was pretty popular among the voters.
Well, yeah, here's the thing. Doge, again, is more popular than literally anything. 55% favorability. Trump didn't even come in that high. Like, there are no honeymoons anymore. Like, presidents don't get honeymoons anymore. That's just where we're at. And Doge came in at plus 11, I think it was, when Trump's highest was plus 10. So Doge was more popular than Trump. And Elon was still like plus 7. He wasn't far behind. But then he had a nationwide campaign to declare himself Hitler and burn down his dealerships. And that hurt. He went underwater because of that. And so he took slings and arrows for America, and then basically the establishment Republicans dumped them in a gutter along the side of the road. That's exactly what happened. Like, he was doing what America wanted. People were watching the Doge stuff. That's the period when the right direction polling was off the charts. And then it's like fast forward to the debt deal, and you can literally see him getting sidelined when Mike Johnson's making deals behind closed doors. And it's like everybody started hearing about, there's not going to be cuts in this, not going to be cuts in this. That stuff mattered. The big, beautiful bill, not that popular. I mean, it was plus 5 in a period where we polled when Trump was like plus 6 or 7. But then if we ask Republicans, well, does it cut enough? And they say no, 44 to 11. So it's not enough. Republicans are just doing Republican stuff. And they're going to snatch defeat again from the jaws of victory. This Epstein stuff just reeks of the same thing. Like, get in, repeal Obamacare. Oh, no, we can't. We said we were going to, but we all knew we couldn't. It's just not the way DC works. Over and over again, the same rug pull. Americans are sick of it.
Okay, I want to talk about Epstein and Obama, but I want to stick with you just for a minute on Elon Musk. I've talked to a lot of Republicans that they just dropped him immediately, which I was kind of shocked by. And I kept telling them, Doge was so popular, they don't even talk about what Doge is doing anymore. Doge is still in there digging through and canceling contracts, but nobody even talks about it. And I believe the reason that people liked Elon Musk was his hero was Javier Milei of Argentina that came in, fired a bunch of people, got their inflation from 35 down to 2. And this is why he was showing up at rallies with a chainsaw. This guy was willing to go in and do what he did to Twitter to the government. And then the government said, actually, it's the system that we want. And I think that they lost a lot of people there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll look. I don't think he ever had bad favorability numbers among Republicans. I think he lost it all just from literally Democrats being told that he's the latest boogeyman. There's a lot of Democrats that think he like stole the election with Starlink or some crazy, ridiculous stuff like that. But yeah, people are watching this stuff. We polled in the middle of this, like, how angry are you at the level of waste, fraud, and abuse that is coming to light? I think it was 72%, at least somewhat angry. It was way more than a 2-to-1 margin. So super popular. You really, I mean, there really are no 80-20 issues. It's like 70, 30 is as good as it gets. This was like 70 to 23 or something like that. And then, do you support Doge-style audits? This was before they had really started digging around in Social Security. Do you support Doge-style audits of Social Security? Is almost 70%. Only 30% trust the federal government. So this is a no-brainer. Republicans should be leaning in on this. And when they don't, it kind of looks like it stinks. Like, people kind of assume that it's, well, probably there's a 2-tiered standard of justice and public officials are avoiding accountability. Fairness is what Americans care about. The things that we poll on that get closest to 100% are keyed toward fairness. How important is it to prevent cheating in elections? You're going to get a number in the 90s. And then another one that people don't talk about, but we said, how important is it that public officials are held to the same standard of accountability as other citizens? 94%, 82%, very important. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, there's nothing will pull that high. Not even like oxygen or food doesn't pull that high. Like, it just doesn't. I mean, so again, I keep hating to bring it back to Epstein, but it is so symbolic. And again, the way that Elon was so popular and was pushed along the side of the road, like, he fueled, in my opinion, Trump's massive entrance. And most of the stuff that was driving the news cycle was all coming out of Doge. Where did it go?
My best videos for the year are actually Elon Musk and Doge, now that I think about it. Let's stick with the Epstein situation. What kind of polling are you doing around that? I mean, I can tell you right now, when I ask on my YouTube channel, I get way high percentages saying we want the truth. And then I get low percentages saying, I don't think we'll actually ever get it.
So this, in my opinion, squares the circle pretty conveniently. It's about accountability, right? And I think there's a lot of lies and gaslighting, and some of it's happening on the right too. That might not make me very popular, but like, voters see through this stuff. And is he going to lose everybody? No, but it's going to add up. Like, his independent numbers went from +6 to they're in -14 right now in Trump approval. Independents care about accountability in government. They poll. So, I mean, we'll talk about that. But case closed. Pam Bondi coming out there and just saying, no, case closed. Nothing to see here. We polled America and only 16% agreed that it was the case closed. Only 21% of voters agreed with the DOJ and the FBI that Epstein didn't keep a client list. Like, 15% of independents agree. Only 15% agree with the DOJ and FBI assessment. Horrifyingly low numbers. 68% of everybody is like, no, case isn't closed. There's wealthy and powerful people that need to face accountability. So will that go away? Maybe, but that's like, what are you doing? America was told one thing for a decade, and now you're just saying, like, no, nothing to see here. And that's the problem, is that it's all been conflated, to be about this. It's all been conflated to be about this Epstein list. And that's not what Americans want. Americans want people who broke the law to face criminal accountability. And you could say, oh, well, there's no proof the Democrats tampered with it. Well, what do we spend $11 billion a year on the FBI for? That, like, what are they doing? What else are they investigating? Do they have something more important to investigate? The fact that maybe hundreds of young women were abused by, like, predators who contribute to their elected officials? And you could say, well, we've seen the evidence and it doesn't support that. Okay, well then you owe America more than that, more than just like, no. We're telling you, would this face lie to you? Yeah, only 30% of America trusts the federal government. One of the questions that and this is all because of Biden, trust in institutions has been declining. But COVID, weaponization of the judicial system, like pursuing your political adversary, taking money from your foreign adversaries and then using the intel agency to cover for you and then interfering with the election. The amount of stuff that's just happened in the last 4 years is absolutely wild. We had 53% after the Mar-a-Lago raid agreeing that the FBI was Joe Biden's personal Gestapo. But if you take Kash Patel and put him at the head of that organization, Americans, most of them will just assume that the FBI can still be the Gestapo. Just because you put somebody else there, all of the people are the same. So in my opinion, we don't really understand accountability here. And let's remember that Trump ran on a very popular promise to drain the swamp. Drain the swamp doesn't mean put Trump surrogates in every place you can in the government. Well, that's like 0.00001% of the government. So again, will he be successful? Maybe negotiating an end to the Ukraine war, maybe bringing in more foreign investment, maybe the tariffs will work. I don't know. Yeah, that stuff will be positive, but he's probably going to kick around where he's at now. Like, how do you break the wheel of this impending defeat to Democrats that's coming in only slightly more than a year?
As we age, the signs start showing more aches and pains, thinning hair, wrinkles, and brittle nails. It's frustrating, but we don't have to accept it. Let me tell you about Revive by Brightcore Nutrition, a powerful supplement designed to restore what time is taking away. Revive helps strengthen your joints and bones so you can move easier and feel better. But it doesn't stop there. It also works from the inside out to rejuvenate your skin, thicken your hair, and strengthen brittle nails. It contains 5 types of collagen, plus hyaluronic acid, biotin, and vitamin C, a powerful combination that helps you look and feel younger than you have in years. It's easy to use, just a scoop of it into water or coffee or hot chocolate. It dissolves fast with no weird taste, and the result, they're real. Now, I love the strawberry lemonade flavor. If you want to reduce aches, restore your glow, and feel confident again, give Revive a try today. I've got a special offer for you. Do the code Gardner at the link below or use the QR code and get 25% off. Or go get a better deal. Make a quick phone call to 888-908-4425. They're professional. They speak English. They're right here in the United States. They will take care of you, and you get up to 50% off and free shipping. So go take care of your health and get that discount. Go check it out right now. Oh, wow. That's a great question. And honestly, sometimes I feel like they don't listen to us, like are they calling you saying, hey, based on all this data, what could we do right now that would move the needle? Or do they just continue to do the status quo in DC?
Well, you're smart about corporations. You'll get, a lot of people don't get this. And I think Elon doesn't necessarily get this because like a lot of startup guys just use willpower, right? It's like, I want X to happen today. So X better happen or people are going to get fired, right? Well, big complex organizations don't work like that. Okay. And in my opinion, the problem is the Republican Party. I went down and I tried to figure out, I went to DC, walked around, tried to figure out what was really going on there. And I don't think it's controlled opposition. I really don't. And I look at them, I talk to some of the congressmen, and obviously some of them, are attached to a lobbyist. Some of them are fronts for the MICs. They have K Street people that pay, like that happens, right? But I think you take your average Republican legislator, and they have principles. They're trying to make the right decision. They're trying to represent their constituency. But there is no machine. They do not pay for polling. They do not come and ask me for my polling. They don't subscribe to Rasmussen reports. They don't really understand public opinion. They maybe will have some town halls. They maybe read the Washington Times, which is a DC paper. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they are very in a bubble. And a lot of them get their information from the lobbyists, who are basically the only people that walk around Capitol Hill anyways. So what you have is a situation where that's your legislators on the Republican side. And then you have this complete vacuum of power that is absorbed by these power mongers, people like Kevin McCarthy, people like Mitch McConnell, calling the shots behind the scenes, picking winners and losers, allocating the massive amounts of funds that they collect. And then there's the whole national infrastructure that a lot of people don't know. The amount of influencers I hear talking about, like just the naivete. Oh, well, Trump got Laura Trump in front of the RNC, so everything's going to get fixed. Like, hell no, it does not work that way. It just absolutely doesn't. And everybody I hear says, oh, the Republicans are controlled opposition. No, they're not. They're actually, the most accurate thing is probably, a donor harvesting organization, where they allocate consulting fees to all their friends. That's probably the most accurate. And how do you fix that? Well, as far as I know, not a single cent or bit of effort has been spent on fixing the Republican Party. Just primarying some people it's not going to work, because the EGOP on the deck plate level is going to shut those people down. It's going to spend national money against them. It's going to undercut. It's just not going to work. And then there's absolutely nothing beyond what Trump's doing to turn the Republican Party into something focused on MAGA principles. It just doesn't exist. So all of a sudden you have literally the richest man on earth. And he wants your movement to succeed. And because of the realities of DC, you leave him in a gutter on the side of the road, face down in the rice paddy. Just completely do your thing, ignore the guy. He gets disaffected. And now he's going to use his money against you. And the America Party is like dead on arrival. Nobody's going to vote for it. It'll get 2 or 3%. But that's mostly going to come from Republicans. So it's just going to help the Democrats take the House and the Senate. If it ever does anything, it'll be a 50-year grind. Who's like, what system, what infrastructure, what mechanism, feedback loop are you going to use to make up for the fact that almost everybody across the country, in the RNC and the NRCC and the NRSC and the state parties and the county parties and the precinct committee, like all of these people are mostly just political pragmatists that want to win, don't stand for anything, have seen movements come and go, and just want to get as much manna from heaven as possible, harvest that money from the donors. And like, nobody spent any money fixing that problem, period, whatsoever. And I don't think Elon even understands large organizations, because that's what you do. If you were a CEO and you came in and you're like, oh man, I'm in charge of a really messed up company. This is like super mature. It's got all these different groups. Like, you'd probably go through a rationalization process. You'd probably put a customer group in the center of it to ensure customer experience is good. You probably have like a group that comes in and does analytics and then root cause and corrective action. You'd put in mechanisms. What do we have? The precinct strategy? Good, fine. That's it. And Michael Whatley. We got the precinct strategy and Michael Whatley. He's been there like a year.
Wow. Is this new information about Obama performing this coup going to do anything to bump Republicans, or only if they actually do something about it?
That's a tough one. I don't know. People kind of like Obama. Like, he's not like the politics Jesus he was in the first 6 months of his first term. I can tell you that. And so a lot of people look back fondly on Obama. And I mean, I'm just looking from the latest President's Day poll we do. There are 5 recent presidents. Which one has been the best? Donald Trump wins 34, followed by Barack Obama 32, followed by Bill Clinton. So Barack Obama actually loses to Trump because Bill Clinton siphons a few points, more points than Bush siphons from Donald Trump. And Donald Trump's also the worst president. So he's both the best and the worst at the same time.
Well, could it be, Mark, though?
What's that?
Could it be, though, that in this particular scenario, people want justice, but maybe not Obama to go to jail? Like, they think it would be bad for America. It would look bad if the most popular president suddenly locked up the second most popular president.
Yeah. So here's the complex realities around this. We're going to have to wait and see. And this is going to play out. And it all comes down to what the optics are. Not everybody's following it. And here's I'm just going to run through 4 questions here. Here's the baseline that we're starting with. We saw this coming, so we pulled this right around the 4th of July. How likely is that the Trump campaign colluded with the Russian government to win the 2016 election? Here's the baseline from just a few weeks ago. 44% likely. So 42% still believe that Trump colluded with Russia. 49% say not likely. And 60% of Democrats, 38% think it's likely that Trump colluded with Russia. So that's the starting point. Only 38% of independents. The CIA recently issued a report that found that Obama administration officials, including the CIA director, John Brennan, manipulated intelligence about Russia to get Trump. Do you agree with the findings of the new CIA report? 49% agree, 35% disagree, 75% of Republicans agree, and only 46% of Democrats disagree. But here's the big one. And this is, again, this goes right back to the Epstein thing, because this is just 2 weeks old. Should officials who were involved in the manipulation of intelligence to get Trump be criminally prosecuted? There's a key word in there, get Trump. So this is a question where and remember, Trump got like just half the vote. 57% said, yeah, get him. Only 26% say no. Still, a lot of not sures. But 46% of Democrats, a plurality, say, hell yeah. If the CIA director did that to get Trump, send him to jail. 73% of Republicans, 51 independents to 26% independents no. So independents, very big on government accountability. And then do you agree or disagree with the statement, what the intelligence community did to Trump is a bigger scandal than Watergate? And it's 53 agree to 38% disagree. So these are big numbers, big majorities. And a lot of people aren't watching it closely. Very little has come out. And again, this was 6th and 7th. So we haven't even seen post Gabbard statements. So I think it'll be big. Again, it's that accountability word that voters really like. It's going up against Obama. And people are like, oh, that's an unforced error. You don't want to bring Obama back in the news. Well, he was back in the news in October. How did that go? Like, not too well for the Democrats, right?
Yeah.
The only thing I remember is that trip he took to the barbershop, right?
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Were you familiar with this QAnon stuff that was going on? Okay. So I don't personally believe in QAnon. I know people in my community do. But the reason I think QAnon really took off was this idea that there are children being trafficked. And one of the things that really upset a lot of Americans was when they realized that Biden had overseen the largest human and child trafficking in the world, over 300,000 missing children. They've now recovered about 35,000 of those, but they still got 265,000 to go. That was a big story. Then you have the Epstein. Does it really come down to, like, this is a key thing. Americans don't want people being sexually abused or trafficked or made into slaves.
You know us. There's no topic I won't touch. We pulled on the vaccines. We lost clients. We pulled on election integrity. They tried to shut us down, tried to take away our Twitter voice. This one is tough to pull on, though. And listen, we've gone everywhere with like the books in the schools, the LGBT stuff. We've been all over it. This is a tough one to pull on because at a certain point, you're going to like make people mad, get an anger response. They're going to hang up the phone. And there hasn't been like the right kind of news hook. And trust me, we have a process to pick questions internally. We have a managing editor and stuff like that. And I've tried to like get on the ragged edge. Like I wanted to poll on the Ashley Biden diary and stuff like that, right? And the sniffing. I even wanted to put a question in the field about Biden sniffing kids. And we were like, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't go there. I want to broach this topic, but we literally don't have any numbers. But this comes back to Americans hate the idea of a two-tiered standard of justice. And every question we ask about should people go to jail, it's basically like 60-30. And if we ask, well, do you trust the government? Only 30% yes. 70% are angry with the waste, fraud, and abuse. 72% think we're living in a police state. So it is a strong majority of Americans. I think you're going to see this. We should. Like, I've been remiss. One of the things that I wanted to put in the field after this week is to see if Americans agree with Obama that young boys need a homosexual man in their life as a mentor. So, yeah, again, you can't dismiss conspiracy theories. I think there's a lot to some of the stuff that's been talked about by these people, because Epstein wouldn't be the big issue it was. Like, if people were just going down there for back massages, then 68% wouldn't agree that there's wealthy predators that need to face accountability, right? And so I think, some of the Q stuff you would get. Look at the response to Trump, and we don't have a polling response. I'm just saying, like, it was a big deal back at the Al Smith dinner when he accused Hillary Clinton in front of everybody of stealing a Haitian village. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, there's something there. I agree.
Yeah.
Sick.
What advice might you have based on the data and talking to people for the Republican Party, specifically with Epstein and then in general?
I think that a couple of things. There's this idea I learned in corporate America and the military called root cause and corrective action, which means that, like, if something bad happens, for accountability's sake, to prevent, because your mission's important to prevent it from happening again, you ask tough questions. You do an investigation. You figure out what really happened. You're not trying to save anybody's egos. And then you put a corrective action in place. The idea being, like, let's never have this happen again. It's how the nuclear Navy hasn't had meltdowns, right? It's been a very successful organization, even though it's run by like 20-year-old sailors. So how come we have to have an FBI that can be used to raid a former president's home with authorized use of deadly force and never hear about it again? Why haven't we heard anything about Butler? We spend $11 billion on this organization, the FBI. God knows what we spend on the CIA. And as far as a lot of people know, like, before the recent disclosures came out, we still had well over 40% who thought that the CIA was implicated in being involved in the Kennedy assassination. So how can we have a government when almost half of America thinks that one of our own agencies killed a sitting president and has never been held accountable? So Americans have not seen accountability. And I think it's very clear, like, what accountability would look like. And I'm not just like we need to see arrests and people need to swing from like, no, it's like transparency doesn't mean just releasing the docs and trying to offload the investigative work to Americans. That's how you're going to get lack of trust and all of these conspiracy theories. What you need to do is do it right. Do an investigation, show the work product of it, do real police work, put real accountability measures in, have a scrubbing process where you find the bad actors, fire them, make them famous. Like, tell us who's been fired from the FBI. We still don't know, I think, why Mar-a-Lago got raided with the use of deadly force. Like, shouldn't we have a root cause and corrective action? Who was responsible for that and fire them? We still haven't had a single general fired because of the Afghanistan crisis. That's when I knew that there was a real problem. I'm a former military officer, and I'm very, very familiar with if I was an officer of the deck as a junior officer in the middle of the night and my captain was asleep, and I made a wrong turn and hit a buoy or something, he would get fired. Like, literally, they don't care that he was asleep. He would get fired. Not a single person was fired over Afghanistan. So there's no accountability. It's a two-tiered standard. Let's fire those people. Let's have an investigation into what happened. These are things that could be in the news. Again, Pam Bondi's not moving the needle with Fox appearances, but imagine if her DOJ put out substantive accountability reports, new investigations, people who have been fired, new arrests. Arrests are part of it, obviously. If these people broke the law, Americans deserve accountability. And if Epstein's too hard and you can't do Epstein, give us everything else, because there's a laundry list of it all comes back to Epstein being the canary in the coal mine. There's a laundry list of like 20 things America would love to see fixed. Like 5 of them are COVID related, right? At least.
Yeah.
And so if you say, well, this one, trust me, bro, nothing to see here, they're going to assume that that's the rest with everything else. So,
yeah.
And this is stuff that could be in the headlines. Like, look at the response. Like, this is going to be big and grow. People care about this. People are searching for Obama now.
Yeah. What about Trump exposing that Adam Schiff allegedly committed mortgage fraud? They start looking into it. They say, wow, actually, there is something here. He gets a criminal referral. What is that part of accountability? Is MAGA going to care that Adam Schiff, a major pusher of the Russiagate lie, gets in trouble?
I think a lot of Americans probably don't know too much about Adam Schiff. You know, like they might pick him out of a lineup if given a picture, but have probably forgot. I'm just trying to be objective. I think that's the case. But if it goes to trial and it gets news, and then people are like, oh, wait, he did what? That's when you see the needle start to get moved, right? And so bring it. Like, let's see what he did. But here, like you and I both know what they're going to find, right? It's going to be a situation where like, oh, yeah, probably like 30% of them down there do this.
Yeah.
And I think that would be great. Like, everybody that's committing mortgage fraud. I'm so cynical about this. I almost feel like these people get like 100-page printout, like guide to DC for newly elected legislators, where the first 50 pages are like, here's how everything's done here. And the last 50 pages are like, here's how you can survive on your government salary while working in DC. And what we're just seeing is Appendix 2B, where everybody knows to file in this state and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm that cynical, right? Just with what I know about, again, how powerful money is in this system, and how, like, you see the Matrix. Like, it's just crazy. Like, you saw Tom Tillis come out and tank Ed Martin's nomination, right? And so, wow, wasn't it interesting? It was about the time that we were talking about prescription drug pricing and the most favored nation clause, right? And then I look and I like literally looked for, I think the word was like most favored nation. I looked it up in Ed Martin's feed and I'm like, oh man, 4 or 5 years ago, he was talking about this on Twitter. And I'm like, wow, pharma probably doesn't like that. Oh, well, who's like one of Tom Tillis's biggest contributors? It's pharmaceutical companies. Does Tom Tillis have anything against Ed Martin? Probably not. Maybe. I don't know. But it's like there are probably a bunch of Republican senators, and your money goes far in the Senate because those people don't change over as much. They have more power, right? And maybe he just drew the short straw and he had to take this guy out. Like, that's how the system works, and it's gross. So yeah, like I don't want Democrats to be arrested. I want everybody to be arrested.
Yeah, no, I agree. I want both sides of the aisle to be good, honest people that actually do what we voted them in to do.
Yeah.
Do you think Trump would have got a different response if he had treated Jeffrey Epstein the way that he's treating Adam Schiff on his Truth Social feed?
I mean, attacking your own followers.
That was dumb.
Almost terminally dumb. You know what I mean? Like, almost like, oh my God. We're talking about the future of America's republic, right? And Trump's been so good on messaging. He's an instinctive genius. This is the God King of Twitter, right? Like, he was the best person at Twitter. Now he doesn't do it. But like, what happened? You know what I mean? Like, he would have, I think, 10 years ago instinctively been like, oh, I better not swat this hornet's nest, right? And at least sidestepped it. Oh, yeah, Pam Bondi, like, you know, throw her under the bus. You're not going to fire her, right? And it's just like, he's the head of the agenda. It has the most support in my political lifetime. This is like a gift to Republicans. And Americans you can't have a republic with the laws being flaunted, with the public trust being trodden on. And so this is important for the future of our country, to right the wrongs that, again, that have been perpetrated by both sides of the political aisle, although admittedly recently it's been Biden mostly, right? And it's like, to jeopardize that over, I mean, just appalling. You have to wonder, it's like, is this the future of how messaging is going to be on key issues? You talked about QAnon and that community. I've seen the sites, and I've also been biggest Trump community, the most ideologically pure Trump community I know of, is the former Reddit The Donalds that turned into Patriots.win. And even those people were attacking him about Epstein. Yeah. And so this idea of like the Trump sycophant that can't call Trump out, I think that's just like a Twitter bot phenomenon, because I looked for those people in real organic communities and didn't really find them. Everybody's like, oh my God, what is he doing? Now he's out there trying to get people to buy Mark Levin's book. But you know what I mean? It's like, as support for Israel is plunging, like I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense. After that huge blow up between Tucker Carlson and Mark Levin, it's like, you got to understand that that's, like you said, it's a third rail. Like, don't touch that stuff. And I hope they get it together. I don't know how. I don't know if he's writing those tweets. And I've heard also, I have a few sources. I've heard that he's really sealed up. He's not getting a lot of information from other people. Susie Wiles' name has been mentioned to me by people I trust who know what's happening. I've also heard somebody allege that there's potentially like loyalty concerns there with people that she used to work for. I don't know. Like, these are questions that everybody should ask, because we need to stop the invasion of our southern border, and things like this jeopardize that from happening. We need to fire or arrest anybody who perverted the justice system and our federal agencies. And it's just a distraction. And again, like, oh, we have the evidence. Did you really? You didn't look at it and you made these promises? Okay, fine. Maybe the evidence is bad. $11 billion investigative organization. Like, what are you doing with it? What's the FBI investigating, Steve? What are they working on right now? Well, look, I don't know.
Yeah.
We haven't been told.
Yeah. Wow. I know from covering the first Trump term, by the end of the term, one of the complaints was Trump can't be bought, but he also can't be approached. He was so insulated that messages weren't getting into him. And so I think they just figured, if we can't sway him or buy him, then just don't give him any information. I worry that that's happening.
Yeah, I think it's valid concerns. Again, I know for a fact that those Epstein crosstabs that say that nobody believes Pam Bondi landed on his desk, and then the following morning, that tweet happened. It's just, and maybe it is frustration. Like, fine. It's like, you can't explain to him, like, well, here are the implications. And like, obviously, it's like just not an important issue. I guess for him, it's not something. He probably was rightly furious that maybe Pam Bondi probably said the wrong things, and that it was detracting from his positive wins. That's obviously where the anger and the issue came from. 16% say case closed. It's just not going to go away.
Yeah. It has to become important to him because it's important to the voters. So, well, Mark, this has been a good conversation. Sobering. I know you want these guys to succeed. I want these guys to succeed. But if they're not getting the data, or they're refusing to look at it and take action, they're going to shoot themselves in the foot. If people want to follow you and Rasmussen online, where's the best place for me to push people?
Honest Pollster on Twitter and Rasmussen_poll on YouTube. We usually put out like short videos explaining new polls that come back, and I stream like 2 times a week. We'll probably stream 3 times a week in the fall. It's usually at 9 p.m. Eastern on certain weeknights. So really hope everybody come and check it out.
Okay. I'll put those direct links down below. Thanks for all you do. We'll have you on again. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Great.